today?
They did. I'm ashamed when I lost that day.
you was barely speaking. I said, hey, they must be tearing him up right now.
Yeah, hell yeah.
All good, man. So the night everything happened, man. Can you kind of go over that night with us? I know y'all was at the studio. I seen you on your Instagram. On your Instagram.
Yeah, so we was at the studio with Guapo and Jake Swan or whatever, and I'm going over my cousin's house, my older cousin.
Mm-hmm.
He was real close with my pops, just like my pops' brother.
Mm-hmm. And
I always try to, you know what I'm saying, show him some love because that's another wound we really ain't healed from.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So I went over there and I was telling her, like, come in the house. And she like, no, I don't want to go in. I'm begging her to come in the house.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, certain areas you just can't, you just got to move right.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It ain't about where you at. I could go anywhere I want to.
Right.
But I gotta move right.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So if I'm moving right, can't nothing happen to me. So I'm telling her to come in the house. She like, no. Because JB was kind of like funny acting about dirty houses.
Okay.
And stuff like that.
Well, you do got a lot of that go to the internet and think that everything they see on that is facts.
Your face! Show your face, please, with sugar on top!
Alright y'all, now before we even get into this video, let me make this very, 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 very clear. The information that's being given isn't a conspiracy, nor was it something that's being made up by outsiders having an opinion on the case and giving theories. The information that everyone is reacting to or regurgitating is literally coming from the evidence and information that's being spoken about during 600 Wu-Thang's trial, in which his own defense, let me say this again, his own defense is basically throwing Tee Grizzley under the bus, stating that it was basically an M for hire charge. So when y'all get in the comments and state that we are just trying to pin a body on Tee Grizzley, or why would he set up his own aunt, or we're just conspiracy theorists making things up for clicks and views, realize that these allegations are coming from the law themselves and not just social media users and bloggers. So now that we got that out the way, right? I think it's safe to say that things have gotten even worse for Tee Grizzley, and as 600 Wu-Thang's trial continue, it seems as if at some point they're going to make Tee Grizzley a person of interest within this case. Now I'm not going to go over all the details that we previously already spoke about, because if you would like to get caught up, you can just search the platform for all the videos we did covering the story so you can catch up. But what I'll briefly do is give a brief summary of what we already know and more information that have recently came to light, making Tee Grizzley a little suspicious. Jabina Brown, aka JB, who Tee Grizzley considered his aunt but was also his manager, was shot and unalive back in 2019. The shooting would go unsolved until a man by the name of Jermaine Whedon, aka 600 Wu-Thang, will be pulled over in the same vehicle that was used during the shooting, and upon searching him, he was also in possession of the same weapon that was used based off the ballistic report that was done on it. As I told y'all before, possession is considered 9/10 of the law, so whether he really has something to do with it or not, he's in the car that was used and he has the weapon. Try convincing the jury you don't know what happened or it was just a coincidence, and I'm more than sure they'll have no problem hanging you come time for sentencing. Now when it comes to 600 Wu-Thang, him and Tee Grizzley are apparently friends with each other, as it's already been proven that Tee not only follows him on social media, but Wu was also in attendance at Tee Grizzley's wedding. So, can you imagine someone you're cool with being a suspect in a shooting that claimed the life of your aunt/manager, and to hear that naturally, you was the target? This should tell you one of two things. Either Tee Grizzley's friend was trying to backdoor him and take his life, or he was paid to do the shooting and target someone else who may have not been Tee Grizzley. Now right now, this is the narrative that's being put out there, basically stating that allegedly Tee Grizzley was the mastermind behind the shooting that claimed the life of his manager, and there's many reasons circulating as to why. However, this narrative wasn't put out there by any bloggers, any fans, or nothing. This is coming straight from the defense attorney of the suspect within the shooting itself. Judging from how Tee Grizzley explained the story, he painted the picture that it was a random shooting that he himself was a target of. And that's usually normal, right? Well, According to cell phone towers that ping the suspect's cell phone in the area of the shooting, he was at the location 2 hours prior, leading up to the shooting. This indicates that the shooting was for a fact premeditated, but it also shows us that this was no random attack. Next question is, why? Right? Why would Wu want to carry this shooting out, and what was his motive? Was he hired to pull it off, or was he trying to snake out Tee Grizzley, aka his friend? So like I stated before, this situation is a lose-lose for Tee Grizzley because they're either going to say, look, either your friend tried to unalive you, which now puts him in a weird standing with his other friend 600 Buka, and also 600 Wu just takes the rap for everything and look like a snake and spend the rest of his life behind bars. Or it comes out that Tee Grizzley paid him to carry out the shooting and a new can of worms are opened up. Judging from what we now know and what we're hearing, 600 Wu may be giving out breadcrumbs of what happened through his attorney because on his behalf, his attorney are making some very strange claims and 600 Wu is allowing them to do so. Now, when it comes to your attorney, for y'all that haven't been through the court process, which is a great thing, your attorney's job is to basically speak for you. That's why you pay them, you tell them whatever pertaining to your case, and they let you know what they could do for you in the court of law. So if you have Wu-Tang's lawyer throwing Tee Grizzley under the bus and stating certain things, it had to come from somewhere, right? But let's play the hypothetical game. Let's say Wu-Tang didn't tell his lawyer any of what he's saying, but Wu-Tang isn't stopping him from saying it neither, then what does that tell you? Now don't get it confused, there haven't been any reports of 600 Wu cooperating per se, but from what we're hearing, he's allowing his attorney to basically throw Tee Grizzley under the bus, and he's not saying anything. And when your name keeps getting brought up in a crime in which a body nonetheless is concerned, it's but so much time you got before them people come looking for you, whether it's to lock you up for it, or put you in a conspiracy indictment, or just question you for it. However, if you think that your name is going to keep getting brought up in court and nobody's going to pursue the allegations, especially if someone's defense is naming you, then you got another thing coming. And we seen this with Lil Durk. As soon as the group from Chicago was accused of taking Lil Pap's life, less than a month after, they followed up and picked up Lil Durk and gave him M for hire. What y'all gotta understand is this: the feds and them don't care whether you truly did it or not. That's what you have to hire lawyers for, to represent you, to prove that you are innocent. Simple as that. So, now that you have all that understood, let's get into what Poetic Flacco had to say in regards to the case, because according to him, he knows sources very close to the situation and stated that Tee Grizzley was threatened by the police chief himself, stating that he was going to make it his business to prove he's somehow connected to the shooting. He also alleges that the police chief told Jobina Brown's family that he was involved too. I'm gonna leave a link to the whole video pinned in the comments so y'all can check out the Poetic Flacco video and the rest of the videos that he have concerning this incident. But in the meantime, y'all check this out.
The police chief wasn't buying Tee Grizzley's story either. My sources told me, and when I say sources, understand this when I tell you this. I'm not talking about hearsay. I'm not talking.
Why are you making that face? What's up with that face though? He got gangs out of nowhere.
Associates. I'm talking, everything I tell you,
whoa,
they've been in the room when it happened. I'm not talking about, hey, yo, I heard this. Hey, yo, Pookie told me. No, I'm talking about when I tell you something in this video, understand, the person I heard it from was in the room when it happened.
What's up with Flacco? What's up? Flacco just went full-blown 50 Cent gangster. I don't know what just happened with Flacco just now, but he's serious about this case.
The person that told me is connected directly to the situation. I was told the police chief looked Tee Grizzley in his eyes and told him, I know you involved somehow. I'm gonna get down to the bottom of this. The police chief thought this. The police chief thought that Tee Grizzley was involved somehow. They just couldn't prove it. They just couldn't connect the dots because people wasn't talking. Whoever this Wu-Tang guy is, he been quiet. That's until he went to that courtroom today. That's until he went to that courtroom. Oh, and we're gonna talk about what happened in that courtroom. It's not looking good for Tee Grizzley, what took place in that courtroom. but the police chief told Tee Grizzley, we know you involved somehow. Now, you could say the police chief is salty. They got something against Tee Grizzley. They got a vendetta against Tee Grizzley. Okay, you can probably go with that. But when the police chief is telling Tee Grizzley that to his face, and he's telling Jobina Brown's family to their face, hey, we know something is up. The police chief told Jobina Brown's sister and Jobina Brown's mother that they believe that Tee Grizzley is involved somehow.
Damn. Yo, do you know what it must be like, right? Just put your feet in their shoes real quick, right? And think about it like this. Obviously, they must have a close relationship because Tee Grizzley basically considered JB as an aunt. So could you imagine her mother, her sister, having to hear that somebody they are close to and know maybe connected to the unaliving of their sister, their daughter? That's crazy.
Now, Tee Grizzley became a suspect almost initially because the police chief discovered, so Tee Grizzley's uncle was married to Jobina Brown. The uncle went to jail 3 months before her death. Within those 3 months, Tee Grizzley began an intimate relationship with Jobina Brown. Police chief looked at that and thought, wait, that's messy. That could obviously lead to something. But that's before they began to put the puzzle together. Tee Grizzley and...
Now, before we even go further, right, because I'm not sure if he's going to show this, right? But in the last video, we showed y'all these old pictures of Jobina Brown, aka JB, posting Tee Grizzley and saying some interesting flirtatious things, right? In this one post, she would say, quote, hashtag Throwback Thursday, we've had some conversations that can't be repeated, hashtag secrets, hashtag my moment, hashtag Tee Grizzley with the bear emojis and heart emojis. Now, she said we've had some conversations that can't be repeated. Now, in this next post, she will also say, quote, she put the prayer hand emojis, the bear emojis, hashtag MCM. He makes it so hard for me to have a real MCM. Shaking my head. And in the comments of this post, I didn't screenshot it, but in the comments of this post, he actually replied and told her she don't need one. Let me tell y'all, I don't know about y'all and how y'all do with y'all aunts or anybody y'all consider aunts, whatever the case may be. This right here sounds flirtatious. So when you hear that, maybe they were in cahoots with each other, it makes sense.
Jobina never fully admitted that they were intimate, but I was told that family members began to figure it out fairly quickly and it was starting to get around. Could Tee Grizzley maybe have gone the extreme to cover it up? Maybe. Now, the rumors that Jobina Brown was pregnant at the time of her death is false, but where those rumors came from makes things so much worse for Tee Grizzley. The rumors that Jobina Brown was pregnant came from court, and it wasn't a prosecution who put that theory out there. It was the defense. It was Wu Thing's defense attorney. You see, Wu Thing is the murder suspect in this trial. Whatever his defense attorney say came from Wu Thing. See, street dudes is finding creative ways to tell nowadays. They telling through their lawyers, right? They won't get their butt up on that particular stand and point their hand and tell it all, but they gonna tell through their lawyer, the defense attorney.
Not to mention, right? You got people that say, oh, I didn't snitch, I didn't send nobody to jail, or, oh, I didn't snitch, it's not in paperwork. Of course. You got different forms of snitching. You got guys that snitch as soon as they hit the precinct. It may not be in black and white, but you just offered information that can possibly lead somebody to go into jail, whether it's today, tomorrow, a year from now, whenever. But there's a reason they write this stuff down that you tell them. You just gave them information that they can go off of that may lead to an investigation.
Who is responsible for getting Wu Thing off? He came to court and he says, listen, obviously, obviously, Tee Grizzley put the hit out on Jobina Brown. He said that in court. The transcripts would prove it. And he also said that he did it because Jobina Brown was pregnant. Now, the prosecution understands that the prosecutors themselves could probably believe that Tee Grizzley is guilty, but right now, they're trying to prosecute Wu-Tang.
Yep.
So they brought the autopsy person or somebody, an expert, to testify that Jobina Brown was not pregnant. Tee Grizzley is a smart man, so he already understands that if the defense attorney is in court saying that you were the one who put the hit on your auntie, that came from the murder suspect, that came from the shooters, that means the shooters is already talking.
What I tell y'all before, right? If your attorney, because your attorney represents you just can't speak in court. So if your attorney is saying something to that nature of this person did X, Y, and Z, where did it come from? He can't make this up, right? So if his attorney is throwing Tee Grizzley under the bus, 9 times out of 10, that information came from Wu-Tang himself. And like Poetic Flacco said, right now, Tee Grizzley ain't of interest right now because they in trial right now. But you could bet your bottom dollar, boy, at some point in time, they would investigate. They probably even investigating now. But right now, their problem isn't Tee Grizzley. Their focus on Wu-Tang.
That means the shooters is already giving information to their attorneys, and they're trying to use that to get him off. It's not looking good for you, man. And all that tells me, to be honest, is that the shooters believe the aunt was pregnant. They probably heard this is why we're doing this. This is why we're taking her out. They probably was under the impression, yo, we gotta, you feel me, take her out because she's pregnant. And if that's the case, then maybe if Tee Grizzley is involved, then he probably thought she was pregnant the whole time she wasn't. Maybe he was told if he's involved.
I was just about to say. So here's the thing, right? If it's coming from the defense attorney, like we said, it came from Wu-Tang. But it probably only came from Wu-Tang because that's what he was told. So it could have been, and we're going to say allegedly. Allegedly, maybe Tee Grizzley told him, like, yo, listen, gotta handle this. I need this done ASAP because she's pregnant. I can't get this out. It can't be revealed. Whatever. He did it on the basis thinking she was actually pregnant. And that's why he had to do what he had to do. But come to find out, she wasn't. So you know how crazy this would be? And it will all make sense. You know why it would make sense? Because at the end of the day, they said that she was married to his uncle. His uncle got locked up. So what if they were trying to, or he was trying to cover the fact that he was messing with her and she got pregnant? He probably thought she was going to keep it. Maybe she was pregnant and didn't keep it. But to his surprise, he didn't know. Or maybe she was never pregnant at all. That'd be crazy.
Right? So if I'm Tee Grizzley and I'm hearing this information, if I'm involved and I know who I told this to, then I know they tell it. I know they talking already. And it's not looking good at all. Now, the shooter is trying to get the cell phone tower evidence dismissed. The shooter is saying, yo, the phone is registered in somebody else's name. However, that number from that phone is a number that's known to him. It is a number that he's been using for like his probation officer, his family and friends. That's his number. But because the phone is registered in somebody else's name, he's trying to get it dismissed. It's not going, they're not dismissing it. The evidence stands. The driver who was in the vehicle when Jobina Brown was shot and killed, he testified that the shooting took place 45 seconds from when Tee Grizzley got out the vehicle. What that shows is Tee Grizzley was on that porch. That shows that there's a high likelihood that the shooters seen Tee Grizzley. Because from how the car is positioned in a picture of the house, if you're walking up to the back driver's side and you're opening it up, you can see over the car. Like you can see the porch from that angle, and you'll be able to see a 6'3", 350-pound Tee Grizzley. You can't miss him. So if he was the target, you'll be able to see him.
Not to mention, right? And this is why I say keep street business off the internet. Because when Tee Grizzley did that interview, he said it himself that he was on the porch. He said that he was at the door trying to get in the door. Right? So now let's put everything into perspective because we said this in the last video. It's no way somebody is going to see you get into the car because he said they may have seen him get into the car, whatever. It's no way they seen you get into the car, followed you, and didn't see you get out the car. Or even with the cell phone tower saying that he was there 2 hours prior, clearly he seen him get out the car. So why didn't he strike right then and there? Why would he wait till he get out the car and then shoot in the car? Then they said that she was shot at least 8 times or something like that, multiple times, or the guy fired multiple times. You mean to tell me somebody opened the door to shoot you, realized it wasn't you, and kept shooting? Come on, man.
He was not the target. It doesn't make sense that he is the target. Now, someone who hopped on the phone with Tee Grizzley, someone who talked to Tee Grizzley after the incident and was told by Tee Grizzley what happened, I asked, yo, how did Tee Grizzley sound? Like, was he like emotional? The words that I was told verbatim, it felt like he was trying to fake emotions. It felt like he was trying to like kind of like draw up something. Like he was trying to sound like he was distraught. The person told me, bro, I can't really explain it, they said. It just felt like he was trying to like come across as if it was this and it was not. Sada Baby was also...
Now, you know what's crazy about that, right? 2 things. The first interview he did when he was talking about the situation, and once again, this is why, I don't even know why he allowed himself to speak on that during that interview, because now it's coming back to bite him. But if you pay attention to his body language and him in that interview, he don't seem that distraught, right? As he's talking, he's actually sound like he's making it up as he go along, allegedly. We don't know. I could only tell y'all from what I seen, right? But then 2, recently when he called himself talking about the allegations that's against him right now, I told y'all in the last video, he said a whole bunch of nothing, right? A whole bunch of nothing. Because he said, oh, you can't listen to the internet. Things are fake on the internet. This is fake, this is that. But guess what? None of these allegations are coming from social media themselves. This is coming from a full-blown court process trial that's happening right now. Right? So like I said, he said a whole bunch of nothing, but I guess we're going to see.
To Jabina Brown. Sada Baby was one of the people who came to identify her body. I believe it was Sada Baby and Jabina Brown's sister, if not her mother, who went to identify her body. And I was told that Sada Baby was distraught. He was effed up about this. I was told, but like Sada Baby was looking at Tee Grizzley a little crazy. The Sada Baby actually looked Tee Grizzley in his eyes and told him, hey, bruh, tell me you don't got nothing to do with this. That even Sada Baby wanted Tee Grizzley to know, hey, bruh, tell me you got nothing to do with this, man. And that Tee Grizzley gave his word to Sada Baby that he ain't had nothing to do with this.
Now, you know what's crazy, right? Most people will come and call us conspiracy theorists about these type of situations that happen within that industry. But guess what? If Sada Baby comes out and tells Tee Grizzley, yo, tell me you don't got nothing to do with this, where you think that come from? Right? Where you think? Why? You think he just asked him that out of nowhere, out of thin air? No. You think if something happened to my brother right now or my sister, that somebody's gonna come to me and say, yo, tell me you didn't have nothing to do with that? They wouldn't even play with me like that. Right? So the fact that you sitting there and asking this man, yo, listen, tell me you didn't have nothing to do with that, it says a lot within itself. And not to mention, I don't know how close Sada Baby was with JB, but if you look at his Vlad interview, when Vlad brought her up, he almost looked like he wanted to start tearing then. So that just lets you know the type of emotional ties he had to this woman.
It's not looking good. It's not looking good. Now the next court day is tomorrow. I'm gonna have people in the court day. I'm gonna have people in the room. We're gonna figure out more details about what's going on. Because the defense attorney for the shooter is throwing Tee Grizzley under the bus. Now, right now, it don't feel like the shooter or the suspect is telling, because from their perspective, they believe the case is weak. Because once you throw out the cell phone evidence at this point is kind of like, how do we put him at the location? So he hasn't really like fully told yet because they believe the case is weak and they can beat it. But once he's found guilty, once they put him right where he belongs, man, it's over with, bro. It's done for, man. It's over with.
Now, let me tell y'all this. That's not a weak case, and for his attorney to tell him that that's a weak case, that's crazy. Right? Because usually trial, you got a jury. And it's not up to the judge usually. It's about what the jury says. Mostly. Right? They all vote on whether they think you're guilty or not, whatever. If you just so much as think you about to convince a whole, what is like 6 people or something like that? Or 12? I think 12. Right? If you going to convince about 12 people that you was caught with not only the weapon, but you was caught in the car, and your phone pinged to the location of the shooting, right? If you going to convince a whole 12 people that you had no type of knowledge of this shooting and you're not the suspect, then you just, maybe you belong in jail. Because that's a different type of crazy. I ain't even gonna lie, man.
Now, I was told the family, Jobina's Brown family, has been very suspicious of Tee Grizzley for a while. And when I was told why, they said, listen, the family has been suspicious of Tee Grizzley because he continued to hang with the people that the family believe is responsible for the aunt's death.
See, look, what did I tell y'all, right? In the first video we did, I told y'all that when somebody's unalive, right, and it's a shooting death, what happens is normally the family knows first. Before all this information get put out there, the family knows who did what. Because the police do their investigation. After they do their investigation, they report back to the family and usually tell them what they found out. If they have a suspect of interest or whatever, they let the family know who it is. They tell you as the family, listen, we're going to let you know, but don't disclose this information yet because it's still an investigation going, until we got everything sorted out. So this means that Tee Grizzley already had this knowledge of 600 Wu-Thang being a suspect, knowing that he's locked up for it, right? So if he's locked up for it, why are you still hanging with the associates of 600 Wu-Thang? Right? Perfect example. It's like me hanging out with a friend that I know has ties to another friend that was once all of our friends that had something to do with my, let's say, cousin. I say as far as a cousin, somebody is suspected of unaliving my cousin, but yet I'm still associated with somebody that's associated with him. Imagine that. Right? So, to normal people, it just don't make sense.
If Wu-Thang, aka Wu 600, is from 600, and Tee Grizzley groomsman in his wedding last year was Wu 600, the family is like, come on, man. We not born yesterday, yo. If the hit was for you, then why are you still hanging out with those people? So it's not just us. The family themselves is upset that Tee Grizzley is still hanging out with the people that are responsible for the death of their, aunt, daughter, niece, mother, wife, etc., etc. What I can say, man, is this started off as a simple conspiracy. This started off as y'all telling me, Flacco.
All right, y'all. So that's pretty much it, man. Like I said, if y'all want to see the whole video, it's only about 2 more minutes longer. I'm pretty sure he's just going to talk, but I'm gonna leave a link to the video in the comments. Y'all can check it out more if y'all want. But let me tell y'all this. Let's end this off with this, man. At the end of the day, right? At the end of the day, they say it started off as a conspiracy, but it wasn't. This started off from the people in Tee Grizzley's own backyard, saying that this is already knowledge that's out there that he has something to do with this lady's unaliving. It's not nobody from Florida, Chicago, Memphis, New York, none of them places. This is coming from people in Detroit that's saying, oh, that's old news, right? So with that being said, man, at the end of the day, it doesn't travel all the way to the courts that believe it. And once again, for the defense attorney to be saying what they're saying, throwing Tee Grizzley under the bus, it had to come from somewhere. But let's say it's not. It's still crazy that his name is being mentioned in all of this, knowing that it was his quote-unquote aunt/manager. Y'all jump in the comments, let me know what y'all think about this. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Hit that bell so you're notified every time we drop new content. And remember, as long as you keep on watching, I'ma keep on dropping. I'm out.